6. See you then.
On World News Tonight this Wednesday, that ship split in half on the Oregon coast. First they tried to burn it, now they want to sink it. They better get it right. Kurdish demonstrators die in Europe today as they do what they can in support of this man. When rich adventurers get into trouble, should it be the taxpayer who comes to the rescue? Maybe there's another way. And how about weather as a weapon? It's a little far out, but the Pentagon is watching, and we'll take a closer look.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight on the coast of Oregon, where a grounded ship carrying heavy crude oil has proved to be a very stubborn environmental challenge. And unless the authorities get it right, this time an ecological disaster is still a possibility. The new Carissa got into the news a couple of weeks ago when she slipped her anchor and was pushed onshore by high winds and the surf. It's not been possible to pump the oil off, and it has been leaking all the time. The plan to burn it off didn't work. So today, another plan. Here's ABC's Judy Muller.
It seemed like a good plan at the time. With rough weather threatening to break up the new Carissa and spill 400,000 gallons of oil, the Coast Guard set the ship on fire. They hoped that most of the heavy oil would burn off. They were wrong.
I mean, the buck stops here, and you can always go back and say shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Inspectors now say almost half the oil is still in the forward section of the ship, which split apart from the stern. Faced with another approaching storm and having seen 70,000 gallons already spill, almost twice the original estimate, officials today made another tough choice. They brought in a high-powered tugboat to tow the broken bow 200 miles out to sea, where they will sink the ship in 6,000 feet of water. They say the water pressure and cold temperatures will harden and contain the oil.
It's maybe not a perfect solution, but the perfect solution would be not to have had this incident happen to start with.
Environmental groups were not blaming the Coast Guard today. They say the issue is ships like the new Carissa, one of many such freighters which were not designed as oil tankers, but which routinely carry crude oil in their holds.
The crux of the problem is that virtually none of the vessels that we have operating in U.S. waters are very safe to carry oil.
The captain of the new Carissa has been ordered to appear at a Coast Guard inquiry next week, aimed at determining who is to blame and who will pay. Judy Muller, ABC News, Los Angeles.
On the subject of environmental disaster, it is 10 years now since the Exxon Valdez spilled 11 million gallons of oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound. After many appeals, the tanker's former captain is finally going to pay a penalty. For the next 5 years, Joseph Hazelwood will spend 1 month every year picking up trash along Alaska's roads for all to see. Jasper, Texas is a major dateline again today. Prosecutors today showed the jury graphic evidence, pictures and documents to prove that John William King was bent on founding a new white supremacist army and is using a grisly killing to get it started. King is one of 3 white men accused of dragging James Byrd, a black man, to his death behind a pickup truck. ABC's Steve Osunsami is in Jasper again tonight.
Prosecutors spent a second day painting a portrait of the ultimate racist. In his apartment, Klan literature and drawings. All over his body, symbols of hate. An ex-girlfriend told jurors that on the night of the murder, she watched King and 2 friends drive away in this gray pickup truck. King, she says, wore sandals. Prosecutors say they found those same sandals stained with the victim's blood. The distractions outside the courtroom have multiplied. 2 black militant groups arrived to attend the proceedings.
I don't preach the message of let's just all get along. No longer just lift every voice and sing, but when we want justice, lift every fist and swing.
Nearby, out-of-town vendors using the victim's likeness.
Still doing okay because we got a web page and we have a 1-800 number.
The people who live here are watching in disgust.
We don't need neither one of them down here because they're taking care of business over here in the courthouse. They don't need their assistance.
Even the victim's family says the commotion is insulting.
I cannot stop it. I do not like it. But like I said, I do not let that interfere with our main focus.
That focus is justice, and the family says it will only come once all 3 defendants have faced trial. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Jasper, Texas.
In various parts of the world today, there have again been demonstrations by the Turkish arrest of the Kurdish rebel leader Abdullah Öcalan in the Canadian capital. Ottawa, there were demonstrations. In Berlin, guards fired on a group of Kurds who stormed the Israeli consulate. There'd been a rumor that Israel may have helped the Turks with Öcalan's capture. 3 Kurds died in Berlin. Mr. Öcalan himself is in a Turkish jail tonight. And ABC's Gillian Findlay is in the Turkish capital, Ankara.
Turkey's government, it seemed, could not stop congratulating itself today. Over and over again, the pictures were shown on TV. Abdullah Öcalan, the man his enemies called the baby killer, being returned blindfolded and in handcuffs. Welcome to Turkey, his captors told him. You are our guest now. The news brought celebrations. The Turkish flag was everywhere today. Many Turks went to cemeteries to visit the graves of sons, brothers, and fathers who died fighting Öcalan's Kurdish guerrillas. I'm delighted, this mother says, but give him to us so we can tear him apart with our own hands. Öcalan's arrest is being portrayed as a huge victory for Turkey's government, but it also poses a real dilemma. He may be public enemy number 1 for most Turks, but for millions of Turkey's Kurdish citizens, he is a hero. A hero because he stood up to a government that has persecuted the Kurds for years. Until 1991 in Turkey, it was illegal to speak Kurdish in public. It is still illegal for Kurds to teach, publish, or broadcast in their own language. In demanding Kurdish independence, Öcalan's Kurdish Workers' Party brought on the wrath of Turkey's army. Kurdish villages were burned, Öcalan supporters tortured and killed. But Öcalan's tactics have been brutal as well. Operating from bases outside Turkey, he has ordered the murders of thousands of people, including children.
He's not the perfect fellow. There are a lot of Kurds in Turkey who don't like what he's done and don't like the way he does it. But nonetheless, he's put them on the map.
Turkey has promised Öcalan a fair trial, but last night 3 of his European lawyers were not allowed into the country. Gillian Findlay, ABC News, Ankara.
The Pentagon is sending a team to Moscow tonight to help the Russians with an enormous problem. The Russians have already said that they need billions of dollars to deal with their Y2K millennium bug problem. The Pentagon mission is focused on seeing that come the turn of the century, the end of this year, that there are no dangerous misunderstandings. Here's ABC's James Walker.
Russia is mired in economic crisis. In some parts of the country, there is no heat. In others, people rely on humanitarian aid for food. Soldiers have not been paid in months, which may explain why for many Russians, the Y2K bug is just another problem. But in Moscow, a senior official of the Russian Navy told ABC News today that a computer bug that does not read the year 2000 accurately concerns them. Tests indicate, he said, that computers could malfunction, especially in the command and control system for weapons. The Pentagon's concern is that computers that run Russia's early warning missile system could go haywire, feeding bad information that could prompt Russian commanders to put their missiles on high alert, even perhaps launch a missile. The Russian system runs on old computers with microchips that may well contain the Y2K bug. No one knows for sure. Intelligence sources say that in the 1980s, Russia stole software made in the U.S.
But what we do know is that what they've taken from the U.S., there's a good chance it has the Y2K bug in it.
In this recent report to Congress, CIA officials quoted a Russian government committee. There is not enough time or money to fix the Y2K problem. Said the CIA, we think the Russians are right. The CIA report also warned that the Y2K bug could lead to major humanitarian consequences for the Russian people. The intelligence agency worries that computer control systems within power plants could fail. Nuclear-powered reactors might shut down, and that improper power distribution from Y2K could result in loss of heat for indefinite periods in the dead of winter.
There are no miracle solutions, said one Russian official, and there's very little money and very little time left. James Walker, ABC News, Washington.
When we come back, we'll go to several college campuses. There are demonstrations there today. The subject is sweatshops and the insulting mascots. Do they violate the civil rights of some Americans?
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Maalox.
This is not like any other antacid I've ever had.
You won't believe your mouth.
It dissolves in your mouth. It's just like shabam.
Introducing Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewables, a whole new kind of calcium antacid for heartburn.
Dissolves immediately, swallow, done.
Boom.
New Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewables dissolve faster and more completely than Tums.
It's not gritty. It's not pieces. Goodbye, grit.
New Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewable Tablets. Quick dissolve your heartburn away.
I'm a happy man.
From 1 Minute Maalox.
Look, Marion, it's those snobs, the Hendersons.
How are you? We just vacationed in Aspen. That's nice. We called all our grandkids this morning.
And you can still afford prime rib, old boy?
Actually, we're buying extra because of all the money we saved by using 10-10-3-2-1.
We save 50% on calls over 10 minutes, don't we, Tom?
How quaint.
Oh, frankly, we never look at prices.
Well, we do. And with 10-10-3-2-1, we saved $20 last month.
Ciao.
Did you get that number?
10-10-3-2-1.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Is it the Chrysler Sebring LXi Coupe or the Chrysler Sebring Limited Convertible? Multi-valve V6, speed-sensitive steering, room for you and 3 friends, and a luxurious leather-trimmed interior. Now, the choice is yours. Get 1,000 cash allowance on the Sebring Coupe and on the Sebring Convertible. Chrysler, engineered to be great cars.
A good night's sleep for your skin, in a jar. Is it just a dream or something you can wake up to? Here's how women our age can achieve this revitalized look. 9 out of 10 of us who tested this night cream found its intense moisture, pro-retinol, plus vitamins, left skin feeling smooth, moisturized, revitalized. Pro-Vital gives skin bounce-back resilience, so you wake to a truly uplifting morning. And the name? Pro-Vital Night Cream from Oil of Olay, proven to help you look revitalized.
On the money tonight, a weak spot in the economy. Industrial production was flat last month. It's been stagnating for some time. Factories and mines and utilities operating at their lowest capacity in more than 6 years. The Heinz company is going to close 20 factories. Today, Heinz, which is famous for pickles and ketchup, said it would shed 4,000 jobs. No connection, but only yesterday we told you that ketchup was helpful preventing certain kinds of cancer. A record in the pharmaceutical industry. The world's best-selling drug, which is Prilosec for ulcers, has passed the $5 billion mark in sales. We've said before that you can pay your taxes this year with a credit card. Today, the IRS adds it'll cost an extra 1.5% to 2.5%. The IRS is passing on the fee that it is charged by the credit card companies. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 100 points to close at 91.95. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down a whopping 64 points. In several parts of the country today, there were demonstrations on college campuses, and it looks a little like a movement that is beginning to pick up momentum. One college administrator said that after so many years of apathy, it was nice to know that college students care about something other than basketball and bonfires. Here's ABC's Bill Blakemore.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! It feels like the 60s. Students occupying administration buildings. Campus protests on a matter of principle. In this case, no clothing made in sweatshops should be sold on campus or bear college logos.
They were making 8 cents for every $20 cap that they produced, and it's ridiculous and it's obscene, and you can't live on it.
The movement is growing fast. Ivy League demonstrations at Princeton, Cornell, Yale, and Harvard are catching up with others that began at Duke 10 days ago, then spread to Georgetown and a sit-in at the University of Wisconsin.
Pounding on the walls of the chancellor's office.
Students want to help toughen up regulations against sweatshops, and they're not likely to find any rigid opposition to that from the administration.
We wrote to all of our licensees last fall to express our opposition to the use of sweatshop labor.
But that still leaves room for conflict. Students say the universities are not being tough enough in demanding full disclosure of factory sites around the world, and they say they won't stop until they get it. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, New York.
There is another issue that is causing some controversy at colleges and at high schools. The Justice Department has launched its first investigation into whether mascots with Indian themes violate the civil rights of Native Americans. ABC's Bob Woodruff tonight on the debate in Asheville, North Carolina.
For 42 years at Irwin High School, the students have been known as the Warriors and the Squaws. Then about 2 years ago, the Indian names and symbols became the focus of debates and protests.
They're disrespecting the Native Americans, period. That's the way I get it. They just don't care. Y'all got a problem, y'all need to go home. I hate to tell them we are home.
The controversy remained a local affair until last month, when a letter arrived from the U.S. Justice Department notifying the school of a federal investigation.
We're looking into the school to see if there really is a racially hostile environment there.
Those charges have been raised across the country, and while about 2,500 schools still use Indian mascots and names, protests have forced about 600 colleges and high schools to change. But now the Justice Department's involvement in North Carolina has rallied students behind their mascot. Last year, 44% voted for change. This week, that number dropped to 24%.
I don't think the majority of students feel strongly about keeping the mascot. I think the majority of students feel strongly about being told to do something.
But at this point, the Justice Department is not telling them to change. It is gathering facts, trying to find a solution that both sides can live with. Bob Woodruff, ABC News, Washington.
In a moment, the unusual notion of harnessing lightning to use as a weapon. We'll take a closer look.
Finally, intelligent life in auto insurance. Be progressive and remember.
If they insist on making contact gloves, I hope they have insurance.
It's my biggest story ever.
Let's run with it. Nobody in the world sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Exactly.
What tipped you off?
Let's just say there was something in the air.
Woods aren't the only place predators lurk. If you were being followed, would you know what to do? Make sure your doors are locked, windows up. Don't go home. Drive to where there are people, someplace bright, then lean on the horn and draw attention. For more safety tips, get this free book from Shell. Count on Shell.
Discover the fiber therapy that tastes so good, people prefer it over Metamucil 2-to-1. Discover Citracel, the only fiber powder that won't produce excess gas. Citracel, no excess gas and better taste, too.
Tonight, as part of our series on the weather, we're going to take a closer look at the weather as a military asset. It's a little far out, we agree, to think of actually manipulating the weather as part of a military campaign. But it's with good historic reason the Pentagon has taken an interest. In 1588, storms on the English Channel helped destroy the Spanish Armada on its way to attack Britain. Queen Elizabeth told her forces, "You can go home now, the weather has fought for us." In the summer of 1940, a large Allied force was able to escape from Dunkirk, in part because the fog prevented the German Air Force from attacking. And now that we live in an age of such advanced technology, how about not just praying for the weather to be on your side, but somehow controlling it? Here's ABC's Michelle Norris.
Consider what might happen on some battlefield of the future, where the U.S. military could gain a tactical advantage by changing the weather.
The military could have great benefits if it could be demonstrated that they could successfully modify the weather in predictable ways.
And there are several ways they might do that. Create rain that turns battlefields into mud baths to immobilize enemy troops and vehicles. Trigger lightning storms over airfields to keep hostile aircraft on the ground. Or burn through heavy fog by firing lasers to give U.S. fighter pilots a better view of enemy targets. This Air Force research paper called Owning the Weather predicts that weather modification could reshape battlefields.
The thing that's fascinating is to try to figure out 20, 30 years from now how much of that fiction is going to get turned into fact.
But there is a problem with turning theory into fact. Using weather as a weapon is a clear violation of international agreements. In 1977, the United Nations passed and the U.S. signed a resolution that prohibits changing the weather for hostile purposes, on the grounds that too many civilians could be harmed. So the U.S. military, which once seeded clouds in Vietnam to produce heavy rains along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, can now only concentrate on better weather forecasting.
We want to anticipate and exploit the weather, not modify the weather.
But that does not mean the research has stopped. Here in the U.S. and in many other countries, work continues on weather modification, work that could be used on the battlefield. Cloud seeding techniques that produce heavy rain to help farmers in times of drought, laser technology that could clear heavy fog for passenger jets. And as this research continues, the military is watching.
I think the Air Force takes military weather modification seriously enough to recognize that they have to keep looking at it to see whether in the future it might actually be a real weapon.
I want a prayer, a weather prayer.
Weather prayer, sir?
Yes, let's see if you can't get God working with us in this thing.
Armies have never been able to conquer Mother Nature. But if new technology were to make that possible, researchers say it's a weapon no military power could afford to be without. Michelle Norris, ABC News, Washington.
There is a lot more about weather modification technology, including that Air Force research paper, on our website at abcnews.com. As we said, it's for the future. In a moment, for the present. The high cost of adventure, millionaires rescued at sea or pulled off a mountain. Who's going to pay for the rescue?
Boogie woogie, rumbling round, creamy, dreamy, rumbling round. It's got yogurt, blended right in, with the creamy taste of butter, you'll try again.
The goodness of yogurt, the creamy taste of butter with half the fat and calories. Must be Rummelin' Brown.
Don't miss Academy Award nominees Emily Watson and Rachel Griffiths in one of the best films of the year with two of the best performances of the year. Hillary and Jackie, rated R. Now playing in select cities, starts Friday in theaters everywhere.
Introducing A&D personal care products for bladder leakage, soothing dry lotion and cleansing towelettes, made to capture and eliminate urine odor and soothe irritated skin.
You'll feel fresh, clean, and odor-free all day.
New A&D personal care.
There's an athlete amongst us, disguised as a mother and a neighbor. She takes Women's Ultra Mega Multivitamins made exclusively by GNC with 35 premium ingredients like calcium and iron. GNC. Live well.
Does your older dog seem confused? Doesn't recognize you? Or turns away when you pet him? It could be due to a medical condition called cognitive dysfunction. So if your older dog loses interest in your family and no longer acts like he used to, we're home. Ask your veterinarian if Anapril can help. Side effects may include vomiting, diarrhea, or behavior changes. Consult your veterinarian before using with other medications or tick collars.
There is a new breed of business person who has decided to go it alone. You, the entrepreneur, who shed the shackles of the corporate world to start your own business. Staples will always be there for you.
What hit me?
Wingtip. Staples has everything for your home office. Want low prices? Yeah, we've got that.
If you leave a job half done, you could be in big trouble, right?
Right.
That's the problem with ordinary pain relievers. They work for a while, then quit. Aleve works all day long with just 2 pills, and Aleve is safe. It's made with a form of naproxen doctors that are prescribed and trusted for years. So if your pain reliever isn't getting the job done, sink it. And try Aleve. 2 pills, all-day relief. Works for me.
My father's starting a new business, and he's been worried about income because he's
he's not getting any, basically.
So we decided to come in and talk to Robert.
I recommended we talk to our fixed income department to possibly come up with different investment ideas that would be appropriate for them.
I tend to think you're a bit more risky than I like to be.
You know, the world doesn't stop growing just because you retire.
I helped guide them through some of the fixed income investments that were available. Typically, everyone has a common goal of financial security.
And I can feel secure feeling that my father is secure.
2020 Tonight, comic celebrity Phil Hartman. Now what you haven't heard and seen about his death and his wife's suicide.
It must have been just a crazy combination of things that just snapped something in her mind.
What really happened that fateful day on 2020 Tonight.
Finally from us this evening, the price tag on adventure. In Spain today, British balloonists Andy Elson and Colin Prescott launched the latest attempt to circle the world in a balloon. The team is sponsored by the British communications giant Cable and Wireless, which can certainly afford it. But when these extravagant adventures go wrong, as they sometimes do, we all know, who pays then? Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
From the polar ice caps to the desert, in the sky and on the ocean, when today's adventurers are in trouble, they get on their high-tech radios to call for a rescue that is expensive and often life-threatening to those who answer.
It's a no-risk approach to expeditioning that the people who came before, the explorers, of the 19th century, the astronauts didn't have.
Christmas Day, the U.S. Coast Guard deployed 2 ships, 2 helicopters, and an airplane at a cost of $130,000 to pull British millionaire Richard Branson and his crew out of the Pacific Ocean. From Branson's point of view, not an unreasonable thing.
I don't think the world will move forward unless people are willing to test themselves and try to prove something to themselves and prove something to other people.
But they're also proving they can't do it without the armies, navies, and mountain rescue teams of the world. At Mount McKinley in Alaska, rescues cost the Park Service about $500,000 a year. Last year on Mount Rainier, a fatal accident brought the Army into a risky pickup of the survivors.
You live in fear every time you put people out into these situations.
We are taking water rapidly.
The cost of rescuing yacht racers has become an enormous issue in Australia, where just this past December, 6 sailors died and rescuers pulled 55 from the water after a sailboat race was hit by a storm with 90-mile-per-hour winds. One reason balloonists have trouble getting clearance to fly over Russia and China, according to the State Department, is those countries don't want responsibility for rescuing crews that crash. To avoid that kind of roadblock, Echo Challenge, a wilderness competition held all over the world, provides its own rescue teams rather than impose on host countries.
It's not fair to say that the adventurers should refuse rescue, but I think it's incumbent upon the organizers to provide and pay for rescues.
But most adventurers head into the wild trusting that if they fall, someone else will provide the safety net. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Los Angeles.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget 2020 later, and then Nightline, Hillary Clinton tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Tomorrow, a country's entire genetic makeup filed in a computer database. The perfect lab or the end of privacy. Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCnews.com, now a part of the GO Network.
It's week 2 of the campaign trail.